finish.
The town of Dumfries and the forests of southwest Scotland play host to round 3 of the Mobil 1 British Rally Championship, the Kumho Tyres Scottish International Rally.
Changing times.
The scene was set south of the border in round 2 in Cumbria, when the Finn Marko Ipatti scored his maiden British Championship victory.
Yeah, very nice feeling, and I'm very confident about this rally. I know these roads better than other roads, but there's a hard fight again coming.
Ipatti's win came at the expense of Jarmo Kutuleito's Hyundai. He was the leader until the final special stage.
I'm happy about the results, what we did, but it was so close to get the victory, and we lost the winning on the last special stage, and it wasn't the perfect rally, but it's good.
Kutuleito well understands the perils of punctures. They were the cause of his demise on the Scottish Rally last year.
Last year we had the problems on this one, and we lost the rubber completely, and then we went off the road. It's very hard for the tires.
Bye-bye.
But of course, when it's wet, it's getting softer and softer, and the four-wheel drive car, it's advantage for them.
1600 class winner in the past 2 rounds, Mats Andersson in the Proton, is now second outright in the championship.
All the team is very happy, but it's still a very long way to go. It's very important to do a good time in there, and we're going to try and stay off the Peugeots, of course.
Proton's main rivals, Peugeot, have had mixed fortunes so far. The reigning 1600 champions need a win in Scotland.
It is on, yeah, the class is very strong. A bit different from last year, winning 5 out of 6, but no, we need to win this one. We're just going to treat it the same as the others, but first place, it's got to be on the cards.
First place could be on the cards too for reigning British champion Tapio Laukkanen. He'd been flying but had yet to finish a round this year.
We have been a little bit unlucky. I made a mistake on the first one and then technical failure, but you know, that's rallying, and now everything is solved, and I think we can get the good results.
The season started with success for Mark Higgins, winner of the opening round, but round 2 brought engine failure and retirement.
Got to try and win another one, really. It's a good rally, and we've had a very good test for it, but unfortunately, again, we've been caught out that the test we did was in the dry. Every other rally we've done, we've actually tested in the wet, so it's been opposite for the rally conditions, but I think it's the same for everybody, and it's going to be quite a fight, really.
There was more than changeable Scottish weather worrying Neil Weirden. Engine failure also meant that his Astra didn't see the finishing ramp in Cumbria. And team spirits took a further blow just before the Scottish, when he and Higgins were informed of Vauxhall's intention to pull out of rallying at the end of the season.
Hard decision, but we've always said whatever we do, we want to win, and win outright. Rallies and championships, and next year's British Rally Championship allows World Rally cars, and the Astra won't be competitive against that class of cars. So, faced with the fact we can't win anything, we decided to pull the plug.
It's a shame to lose any manufacturer, but you know, we're going to crack on, put everything into this championship like we set out to do at the start of the year, and we'll see what happens at the end, but full commitment from everybody.
It's important for my career that we do well on every event and try and win the British Championship, because I still want that on my CV at the end of the year, so I don't think it's going to make any difference.
It all added spice to a rally which is traditionally one of the classics. A 2-day event with 6 timed special stages to the north and east of Dumfries on day 1, 6 more to the south and west on day 2. A total of 127 competitive miles. Cool, showery weather marked the start of the Kumho Tyres Scottish Rally and will be expected to favour the production-based 4-wheel drive cars, such as the Group N Mitsubishi of championship leader Ipatti. But the times from the opening special stages would prove the pundits wrong. Ipatti was driving quickly but with caution, happy to maintain his own pace, stay out of trouble and maintain that 5-point championship lead. In contrast, Laukkanen, with no scores on the board, was on the limit from the word go.
Nyppy vasenkoon, älä tukit 3. Oikee eri. 100 ylös.
It was a crushing performance, covering the opening 18.79-mile A Forest stage in 17 minutes and 38 seconds, an average of 64 miles an hour. But matching the Volkswagen every inch of the way, Neil Weirden was in fighting form in the Vauxhall Astra. despite the slippery stage conditions, the 300 horsepower front-wheel drive Formula 2 cars were proving a spectacular match for the four-wheel drive machinery. Chasing the flying Weirden, Mark Higgins looks set to make it 2 Vauxhalls in the top 3, but take a closer look at his left rear wheel. A punctured tyre confirmed by Higgins' use of the hazard lights as he dropped his pace. He'd lose over a minute as a result, dropping him to the tail of the top 10.
It's a real disappointment because it happened about 3 miles into the stage. Didn't touch anything, it was just really neat. I said to Bryan, I said, you're not going to believe this, the tyres, we've got a puncture. And we just had to drive the other 16 miles on it. Just real steady, you know.
The stony Scottish stages had already removed pieces of the front spoiler of Kuutelaito's Hyundai, and he was another in trouble with punctures.
50. Lyhyt oikein taas 30.
The Finn was another to lose over a minute on the stage, but this time there was better luck for his teammate Andrew Pinker. The Aussie had had a troubled rally in Cumbria, but here he was 7th after the opening stage. And commenting that the Scottish stages felt just like home, Perth in Western Australia. Defending his 2 victories in the Ferodo Super 1600 class, Mats Andersson was another planning to pace himself on the opening stages. At least that's what he said before the event.
Left 2 plus, don't cut. 100 through trees. Well held.
The Swede almost taking the 100 through trees instruction a little too literally. But the pressure was on the Proton from the flying pair of Peugeots, headed by David Higgins. The reigning Group N champion was at last getting the chance to show his pace in the 1600 car, completing the opening stage 5 seconds faster than the Proton and 30 ahead of his teammate Justin Dale. But on stage 2, Windy Hill, things began to go wrong.
Stop. You're joking.
The frustration was obvious as Higgins got the car restarted and may have been responsible for this very heavy landing a few miles further on.
Well out. 30, right 4 in over crest, jump. 50, left 3 plus slippy. 40, right 6. 100 over flat crest, 20, right 3 over finish.
Higgins at least made it to the end of the stage, but that jump had split the radiator and the driver's drinking water was now being used as coolant. Finally, muscle power would be needed to get the Peugeot into the service area.
Yeah, we came down to a T-junction left and the engine cut on the way down into it. And I think it was just a master switch that cut off, so I had to fiddle around with that for a while and bypassed it. And we've got quite a quick fix to bypass it because it can be a bit of a problem. The car started up okay, and then there's a big jump in the stage, and it's one of those ones we actually slowed down, had a bit of a go on the recce, and it was fine. But when we landed, it just landed a bit too much on the front end. I think that split the radiator, so we've just been trying to nurse the car to here to get it here on time. Hopefully the guys will fix it all and back on our way again.
Higgins' mechanics would ensure the Peugeot stayed in the event, but the ever-unlucky Jonny Milner was in trouble once again. He'd been on flying form on the opening stages, battling for 3rd place with Marko Ipatti. But on the 3rd stage of the day, he was in trouble one more time.
No idea. Right.
Not for the first time this season, the Toyota's engine had cut dead with an obscure electrical problem. And although the car got running again, Milner's bid for the lead was effectively over.
Started to miss, and I saw the temperature gauge fly up off the scale, and I thought, strange, what's happened there? And I noticed it coughing a bit, and I thought, well, okay, maybe just a bit of water or something, and then died and stopped. It's fixed it, so the car's perfect again now. But I mean, 7 minutes is 7 minutes, and it's just, we needed a good result from this rally. We were set up for a good result. People know how fast we can drive the car, just got to get the bloody thing reliable. You know, you know how disappointed I am. Never mind.
Milner was far from the only retirement. Gary Furneaux from Folkestone rapidly learned that even in a Nissan Micra, the Scottish rally has teeth. strength of the Nissan at least allowed Furno and co-driver Martin Standring to escape unscathed. And they'll no doubt be preparing for their next adventure. The final stages of day one of the Kumho Tyres Scottish Rally, and the rally's reputation as a car breaker was continuing. Australian Andrew Pinker was starting a slide down the leaderboard from his earlier 7th place. Problems with the differential, possibly an off-song engine and punctures were the prime suspects. Matt Anderson and Claire Mole were still second in the 1600 class, but they too were heading for a fright.
Right, 3 plus up, 100. Small crest, 60 left, 2 plus, 50.
In 10th place, Jonny Pertinen was struggling with a damaged differential, which was only locking at 1/5 of its normal strength. The crew were changing the oil at the end of every stage in an attempt to hold the transmission together. 9th place, Dave Wood and Les Waterfall in their production class Subaru were a little behind their podium position in Cumbria, but they were quite happy to be scoring points in the Group N Championship for amateur drivers, where they're the joint leaders. The Sheffield duo of Gavin Cox and Tim Hobbs were just 1 point behind in the championship, but in Scotland they were 7 seconds ahead in their Mitsubishi in 8th place. Tapio Laukkonen had fought his way back up to a storming 2nd place, but on the penultimate stage of the day, it all went wrong again.
Ja vasen K+. Ja oikee 10, vasen K+. Ja oikee eri +3. Lyhyt vasen 2, vasen K. Ja oikee K, älä 2.
Laukkonen's aggressive corner-cutting attacks were making for erratic progress up the leaderboard. The sharp Scottish stones on the edges of the track meant yet more punctures and the loss of those hard-gained seconds. It was a lesson already learned by Jarmo Kutuleito in the Hyundai, who was also on a fight back, now up to 6th. He was also thankful of the courtesy shown by the limping Laukkonen, who pulled over to avoid delaying his compatriot.
Nyppy täys 150. Nyppy täys 5.
But the delayed Tapio was soon back on track.
We drove like something like 12 miles like that, so it was still a right decision because now we lost something like 2 minutes. It's always bad, and now it looks that the few first cars, they are quite a bit too far away now, so I don't have any plans at this moment. And now we have to still keep pushing, and you know, everything can happen. We do have a full day tomorrow, and we have to do more than 60 miles, so everything can happen.
As the Flying Finns fought back, it was a place in the top 5 for Wickham's Mike Brown. The former Seat Works driver, though, survived a late scare on his 2nd run through A Forest when he saw his own back bumper, which he'd wiped off on his 1st run through. Championship leader Marko Ipatti, though, was still content to hold his own pace and ensure claiming more championship points. So far in 4th place, it was all going to plan. Well, mostly. 3rd place was the reward for a consistent and controlled drive for Mark Higgins, who 1st stage accepted, had steered clear of the punctures.
Left 5, and max right, and left 6 plus, and max right 100. Max right, then caution, late left 4 and right 3.
It's been a bit of a trying day, a few little problems, but we're here, and I think we've clawed our way from 10th this morning, so you know, a lot can happen. It's proved it in the mileage today, and we've got the same mileage again tomorrow, so good night's sleep, and let's see how it gets going tomorrow.
But the story of the day had to be the sheer pace and consistency of Neil Simpson and Mike Gibson in their Mitsubishi Lancer. The privateer team were not only the comfortable leaders of the amateur Group N category, they were splitting the Works Astras in 2nd place, less than a minute behind the rally leader. It was looking like a dream event for the man from Colne in Lancashire.
We've had a good run today, these last few stages especially, although you must always keep your eye on who's coming up at the back. I'm just going to go as fast as possible, that's what I always do.
That seemed to be the style for the Lancastrian drivers, because at the head of the leaderboard, Blackpool's Neil Weirden was extending the lead he'd taken on the rally's 3rd stage. That Weirden was blisteringly fast was obvious, but he'd also stayed out of trouble and avoided the punctures, either by luck or design.
It's been an enjoyable day, you know, we've upped the pace over the last 3 or 4 stages, and we're on the pace, so with Mark and Tapio. It was nasty this morning, so we had, I didn't want any dramas, and we didn't have any dramas, so we're happy enough.
Weirden would enjoy the overnight halt with a 56-second lead over Neil Simpson, with Higgins third. But with a little over 2 minutes covering the entire top 6, just one puncture could turn the leaderboard upside down on Sunday. Rain showers would again be a feature of day 2 of the Scottish Rally, with 6 stages taking the cars deep into the forest. Emotive names like Blacklock and Glentrool would form the backdrop for a dramatic finale, with the sounds of the cars echoing around the hills. There's not a lot that can compare with the sound and fury of a Formula 2 car on full song. And Weirden was in stunning form, setting the fastest time on the opening stage of the day. In contrast, the nearly silent production Mitsubishi of Simpson was less spectacular, but no less efficient. Although he was losing some time to the leader, he was still secure in second place and poised to take advantage of just a single loss of concentration or a mechanical problem for the rally leader. In third place, Mark Higgins was charging still, but he just couldn't make up sufficient ground on the 2 leaders, and once again his luck was set to desert him.
Crest into right 5, then caution left 3. Over crest, double tightens. And right 4 fast. That's on, that's okay.
A total electrical failure. Only frantic reprogramming of the car's ECU system would get him out of the stage.
The master switch is definitely okay.
Fuel pumps. Halfway through, the engine just chopped out. Nothing. Felt like an electrical problem. We searched, went through all the breakers and everything, and eventually, 2 minutes later, we got it fired up.
You don't know how you fixed it?
Well, we think it's something to do with the fuel pump, but we've just seen a loose wire now, so we'll investigate that when we get back. But bit of a bugger.
Higgins lost over 2 minutes, dropping to 6th as a result. But behind him, Mike Brown's Mitsubishi wasn't set to benefit. He became another victim of the Scottish Rally's notorious tyre-puncturing rocks, and after losing almost 3 minutes, dropped off the leaderboard. Mats Andersen was now 4th in the Super 1600 class, behind the 2 Peugeots and Marko Raumanen's Honda. But the Proton driver wouldn't be helped by a bizarre loss. Listen for the extra crashing and banging as a rear wheel parts company.
Crest to right 3 minus. To left 5 up.
Rear wheel went off.
60 right 3 tight.
This isn't very easy,
What's the matter with you? How many wheels do you want?
Few more with it.
You're doing fine.
Now a brake seems to go as well.
Oh, great.
Oh, yes.
Driving the yellow 3-wheeler, Mats, now renamed Del Boy, did make it into the service area and was still in the rally.
It just on a very fast downhill bit and it just went off, the stub axle's gone, so it's just worn out, I think.
Thanks to the quick work by the Proton mechanics, changing the rear suspension in brakes in just 8 minutes, Andersen would still be heading for vitally needed points in the Ferodo Super 1600 Championship. Meanwhile, class leader David Higgins had a slim 15-second lead over teammate Dale, at least up to the penultimate stage.
Into left 3 plus. 40. Left 3 long. 20. Left 2 plus long. Oh.
I don't
believe it.
The clutch pedal's jammed into my foot.
A bitter blow for Higgins, promoting Justin Dale to 11th overall and 1600 class victory. And the dramas weren't over yet. Rally leader Neil Weirden was looking as if he had the event in the bag. Smooth, clean driving had minimised the risk of damage to the Astra, and he started stage 10 with almost a minute and a half in hand. But nothing can be taken for granted in rallying.
We landed reasonably heavy, over jump no more than normal. The engine just cut completely. I looked for everything I could think. Luckily, you know, mechanicing's my trade, and I sort of went behind the dash and found a wiring harness plug. I'd literally just fallen out. I put that back in and the thing fired up straight away, and I lost 5 minutes, and that's, you know, that's it. So I don't know where we've dropped to, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You know, this rally was mine, you know, and you know, it's just unfortunate, but there you go.
Weirden had in fact dropped to 8th, 25 seconds behind the Volkswagen of Jonny Perttunen. Meanwhile, Gavin Cox was on his way to 6th place, and more importantly to points which would move him ahead of rival Dave Wood in the Group N Amateurs Championship. And a fine recovery drive would net the ever-spectacular Jarmo Kuutelaito a well-deserved 5th in his Hyundai Coupe.
Lyhyt oikein täys, nyt oikealla täys 30, lyhyt vasen helppo, 150.
The top 5 finish for the Korean car, running on the Korean-made tyres, will be a great source of pride for the Far Eastern sponsors of this year's Scottish Rally. But a mixture of frustration at bad luck and pride in a job well done would be the feeling at Vauxhall, as Mark Higgins salvaged 4th from what could so easily have been an Astra 1-2.
Rest. 90. Right 4. 70.
But the fight back of the rally had to go to Tapio Laukkanen. After yo-yoing up and down the leaderboard, 4 fastest times on the last 5 stages would move him up to 3rd, at least as the cars completed the final stage.
Jatkuu vasen täys -3. Nyppy vasen eri plus 2.
Laukkanen's spectacular style had ensured him maximum points in Formula 2, but the cool driving style of compatriot Marko Ipatti was taking him to 2nd place and maximum drivers' points. Or was it?
Yeah, I think we dropped 3rd now because we took 10 seconds penalty in the last time control, and unfortunately it's true. Yeah.
Was that a mistake?
Yeah, mistake. We just talking there and I was so far away and my co-driver didn't find me.
So that's cost you a few points?
Yeah, it cost me 2 points now.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Dramas even between the final stage and the finish ramp for Ipatti, but there was even more to come. At the head of the field, it was looking set to be a dream finish for the Lancastrian Neil Simpson, cruising to a victory with 30 seconds in hand. Simpson had been a regular class winner since contesting his first ever rally just 2 weeks after passing his driving test on his 17th birthday, but this would be his first ever outright win.
First rally win.
Ever?
First rally win ever, yeah. I've started this rally 4 times and never finished it. We knew at the start, we sat down, Mike and I, we thought if everything goes well, we can win this rally. And unfortunately, it's come good for us today.
But the final twist came in post-rally scrutiny. The brake pads fitted to the Mitsubishi were found to differ in shape and size from the approved items. It had been a manufacturing fault and there was certainly no intention to cheat. But rules are rules, and Simpson was excluded, promoting Tapio Laukkanen 3rd out of the final stage to victory. Ipatti moved up to 2nd ahead of Higgins with Kuutelaito 4th and Cox 5th.
I'm quite pleased. The car was working very well all the way through the event. Obviously, first day, those 2 punctures are a little bit big disappointment, but that's rallying all about. You can't always be 100% sure what's going to happen, and still I'm fastest F2 car, which is good for a Volkswagen team.
Jarmo Kuutelaito's performance keeps Hyundai at the head of the Constructors' Championship, 2 points ahead of Proton, with Vauxhall 3rd from Peugeot and Volkswagen.
I can say I'm happy about the results what we did, but needs a little bit more power, I think, at the moment. What we had the puncture and some engine power problem, but times are coming better and better, and it wasn't the perfect rally, but it's good.
Marko Ipatti enjoys a 10-point advantage over Mark Higgins at half distance in the Drivers' Championship. But in the next round, round 4, the Jim Clark Rally, the cars leave the gravel tracks for stages on the tarmac public roads. Laukkanen won last year, can he do it again?